Hello da Tangam, welcome to Gully Classroom. This is the 6th lecture in which chapter sir? In the chapter Life Processes. In CBSE 10th Standard Biology, Science Book Chapter 6 Life Processes. This is the 6th lecture taken in English. This is the 6th lecture taken in English. Okay sir, what are we going to study in this particular lecture? In this particular lecture, we will study about transportation in plants. We will study how water is being transported in plants. We will study how manufactured food is being transported in plants. We will study and compare the functions of xylem and phloem, including their structural components. What next, sir? We will study about what is transpiration and what are the different functions of transpiration. What are the advantages that are given by the process of transpiration to the plants. That's basically the topics, the contents that are covered in this particular lecture. Yeah, can we go to this lecture? Absolutely, Kana. Come on. Transportation in plants. What is transportation in plants? In plants, a lot of materials needs to be transported. Sir, give us a couple of examples. Absolutely, Tangam. Raw materials that are taken by the root from the ground, such as water, nitrogen and phosphorus, including other minerals such as magnesium, must be taken from the soil, and this absorption of these minerals from the soil is happening by the roots. This absorption is being done by the roots. Okay sir, the roots are absorbing water and other nutrients, water and other minerals like phosphorus, nitrogen, magnesium, etc. Is diffusion enough for these materials like water and minerals to reach from the roots to the leaves? No, diffusion is not enough. Before we look at why diffusion is not enough for water to reach from the roots to the leaves, let us try to understand what is diffusion. Diffusion is a very simple idea where a particle which is at higher concentration moves to a place where there is lower concentration. For example, let us say there is some hydrogen gas over here. This hydrogen gas has higher concentration. Here there is lower concentration. So hydrogen gas moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. That is the basic idea of diffusion. With respect to this idea, with respect to diffusion, is this process enough for water to get transmitted from the roots to the leaves? No sir, I don't think it is possible. A lot of trees are so much high. A lot of trees stretch to hundreds of meters. A lot of trees stretch to tens of meters. So only diffusion is not enough to carry water from the leaves to the, from the roots to the leaves. So what is happening? Okay, diffusion is not sufficient to transfer all these materials, the materials such as water, nitrogen and phosphorus and other minerals from roots to the leaves. Why leaves? Because leaves are the sites of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is happening in leaves. These materials are needed for photosynthesis. They need to reach the leaves. So water needs to travel longer distances in taller plants. So a proper system of transport is essential. It is vital for plants in order to transport these materials such as water from roots to the leaves. Okay sir, before we look at the characteristics of the transportation system present in the plants, let us look at the characteristics of plants themselves. Yeah, absolutely. Plants are sessile in nature. Let me repeat, plants are sessile in nature. Sir, what is sessile? Sessile means plants do not move. They are stationary. Sir, I can cut a plant and take it somewhere. Here you are cutting the plant, but the plant themselves do not move. So plants are called as sessile, but animals are motile. M-O-T-I-L-E. What is motility? Motility means the plants are, the animals are able to move, but plants are sessile. They contain large proportion of dead cells in many tissues. Because they are sessile and contain a large amount of dead cells in a lot of tissues, they have very low energy needs and hence they use a relatively slower transportation system. They can use a system which transports materials at a very slower rate. Okay, now let us look at the two types of transportation system which are present in plants. Okay sir, what are the two types of transportation system? First, let us try to understand why plants need two transportation systems. Okay, sir. The first system needs to transport water from roots to the leaves. Oh, yes, sir. Why? Because water is needed for photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is happening in leaves. Water is being absorbed by the roots from the ground. So, a separate system is needed for transporting water from the roots to the leaves. Okay, sir. So, one transportation system is going to transport water. So, what are we going to call it? We are going to call it xylem. Xylem. Okay, sir. Another transportation system is needed to transfer prepared food materials by photosynthesis from leaves, which is the site of photosynthesis, to all the other parts of the plant. Is that right? Yes, sir. That particular transportation system is called as phloem. That particular transportation system is called as phloem. Okay, sir. So, xylem is transporting water and other minerals from the roots to the leaves. Phloem is transporting prepared food materials in the leaves. Prepared food materials in the leaves. From the leaves to all the other parts of the plant. Am I getting this right? Absolutely, Kana. Sir, how am I supposed to remember that xylem is transporting water and phloem is transporting prepared food material? Okay, look here. Let me teach you a very interesting thing. Let us say X. So, here X stands for xylem. Rub the top part of X. Rub off the top part of X. Yes, sir. Then what am I supposed to do? Put two lines over here. What are you getting? Sir, I am getting W. So, from X you are able to get W. In xylem you are able to transport water. From X you are able to get W. Let me repeat it. Put a X like this. Put a X like this. Rub the topmost part like this. Then add two lines. What is happening, sir? From X I am getting W. So, in xylem you are able to transport water. How am I supposed to remember? Phloem is transporting prepared food materials. Put a large P like this. Put a large P like this. Okay, sir. Now what? Simply rub this part off. You are getting an F. Put a large P like this. Yes, sir. Now simply rub this end off. What are you getting? You are getting an F. F stands for food. So from P you are able to get F. In phloem you are able to transport prepared food materials. Yeah, are you able to understand how I am remembering this? There is no need to memorize anything. So, two independently organized pathways are conducting tubes. Two independently organized pathways with conducting tubes are helping in the transportation of water and prepared food. Water is transported by xylem, food is transported, prepared food is transported by phloem. Okay, sir. Now, let us analyze xylem and phloem in a comparative manner. Okay, sir. Come on. Xylem means it is transporting water and minerals obtained from the soil. So, the roots are obtaining water and minerals and it is being transported. Xylem forms a continuous system of water conducting channels reaching all the parts of the plant. Absolutely. Xylem is having a continuous tube-like structure which without interruption is reaching each and every extreme parts of the plant. Even the tip of the leaf will have a xylem. Water which starts flowing up from the ground will reach the tip of the leaf through the xylem, which is a continuous system. There are no interruptions, which is a continuous system of water conducting channels reaching all the parts of the plant. That's basically xylem. So what is phloem? Phloem transports soluble products of photosynthesis. What is it transporting? Soluble products. So whatever phloem is transporting needs to be soluble. Okay, sir. So it is called as soluble products. Why soluble products of photosynthesis? Because xylem is transporting prepared food materials. Okay. So how is food materials being prepared? Food materials are being prepared in plants by photosynthesis. So prepared food materials can also be called as soluble products of photosynthesis, which are prepared in the leaves, obviously. Phloem transports soluble products of photosynthesis from where they are prepared, from where they are produced in the leaves to all the other parts of the plant. So, to all the other parts of the plant. This particular system is called as translocation. Are you comfortable with how to write the definition for translocation? Okay, Kana. These substances are delivered to storage organs like roots, fruits and leaves. From the leaves, the soluble products of photosynthesis are transported to places where you can store. What are you going to store? You are going to store simple sugars like roots, fruits, and seeds. Here, what are you storing? You are storing food for later use, and also food is transported to growing organs so that they can grow. Okay, sir. Now let us continue. The second difference. How is transportation happening in xylem? Transportation in xylem is happening only in one direction. Water is being taken from the ground and it is sent to each and every part of the plant only in one direction. Okay, sir. How is transportation happening in phloem? Transportation is happening in phloem in both directions. Food prepared in each and every leaf can travel both upwards and downwards, so that if the food is prepared by the leaf, it can also be stored by the roots. If it is prepared by the leaves, what it will do? It will prepare the food first, then it will send the food to the roots via the process of translocation through phloem. So transportation of prepared food in phloem occurs in two directions, upwards and downwards. Okay, sir. Sir, you have written that in xylem, all transportation is a passive process. In phloem, all transportation is a active process. What is the meaning of this? In the next point, we will look at how exactly water is being transported in xylem. If you look at that, you will notice there is no energy spent for transporting water from the ground to each and every part of the plant. Literally, physics, what is helping the plant to transport water? Physics is helping water to get through the plant through xylem. Physics is helping water to get through the plant through the xylem. Okay, sir. So you are not using any energy to transport water from the roots to the leaves in xylem. So it is a passive process. No energy, no ATP cells are used. But in phloem, ATP cells must be used for transporting prepared food materials from the leaves to all the other parts of the plant. Because ATP cells are used, transportation in phloem is active. Because no ATP cells are used, transportation in xylem is passive. Let me repeat myself. Transportation is in xylem is passive because no consumption of energy is happening here. There is no use of ATP cells over here. Okay. Transport of prepared food material in phloem is active because ATP cells are used in transportation. ATP cells are used in translocation process. So phloem transportation is an active process. Okay, sir. Give us a complete mechanism of how transportation is happening in xylem, how transportation is happening in phloem. Okay, Kana. First, let us look at xylem. In roots, cells are in contact with the soil. What is happening? The cells are in contact with the soil and they are taking up ions. Okay, sir. Let us first draw a simple taproot system. Okay. So what is a taproot system? There is a central root, something like this. You would have learned this in your lower classes. There will be a lot of secondary roots like this. And obviously there will be some root hair. There will also be some root hair. Okay. This is called as a taproot system. Okay. At roots, cells are in contact with the soil. That is obvious. The cells are in contact with the soil. What is happening? These cells in contact with the soil are taking up ions. So they are taking in ions. So these roots are getting filled with ions. That is fine. Now what is happening? There are more ions present in the roots than the number of ions present in the soil. Let me repeat myself. There are more ions present in the roots than the number of ions present in the soil. Okay, how are you going to illustrate this to me, sir? Okay, let us try to understand this particular idea. This red line, I am going to call this as root boundary. Okay, sir. Now what? Okay, this part I am going to call it as inside the root. This part I am going to call it as INSID, inside root. Okay, sir. What about this part? This part is earth or soil, outside the root. Okay, sir, outside root. Okay, now let us try to illustrate what is happening. Inside the root, what is high? Ions are high. Outside the root, what is low? Ions are low. Why is this happening? Because the root itself is absorbing a lot of ions. Now this will create a difference in the concentration of these ions between the roots and the soil. Okay, so there will be a difference in concentration of ions. Inside the roots, the ions will be high. Outside the root, the ions will be low. Because of this, what will be happening with the water? Ions are high, so water will be inside the root. Water will be less. Why, sir? Because ions are high. Either ions have to be there or water has to be there. The space is limited. Either ions or water must fill that space. That is obvious. Because ions are high inside the root, water is less. What about outside, sir? Water is more. Outside, water is more. Now what is happening? Here there is a difference in the concentration of water outside the root and inside the root. So water starts flowing from the place of its higher concentration to a place of its lower concentration. Water starts flowing inside the root. Why, sir? Because this is a semi-permeable membrane. We have already learnt about osmosis in the lower classes. What is osmosis? Osmosis is the transfer of water through a semi-permeable membrane from its place of higher concentration to its place of lower concentration. That's osmosis. What is happening here? Osmosis is happening. Water from its place of higher concentration outside the roots is flowing to its place of lower concentration inside the roots. How did water become at low concentration inside the roots? Because roots are absorbing ions. Now let us read this. This creates a difference in the concentration of these ions between the root and the soil. This is called as root pressure. What is this called as? This is called as root pressure, and because of root pressure, water is moving from the soil into the root, and to eliminate this potential difference, or root pressure, water is flowing from outside the soil to inside the soil. Water is steadily moving into the root xylem and creating a column of water. Water slowly gets into the roots and it is standing as a vertical column of water inside the plants that is steadily pushed upward from below due to root pressure. Sir, is this root pressure enough for the water to get to the top of the plant? This is not enough. So what is the second process that is happening in order to enable xylem to carry water from the roots to the leaves? The second process is called as transpiration. Transpiration by the plants move the water upwards in the xylem to the highest points of the plant. Sir, kindly tell me what is transpiration? Transpiration is a simple process by which water is lost through the stomata present in the leaves in the form of water vapor. Yeah, do you want to have the exact definition of transpiration? Come on here. Transpiration, the loss of water. What is getting lost? Water in the form of water vapor, in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant. Aerial parts of the plant are obviously leaves. In the leaves, where is transpiration taking place? Transpiration taking place obviously in the stomata, because stomata is enabling all the gaseous exchange with the atmosphere. Stomata is enabling the plants for all the gaseous exchange in the atmosphere. Water lost through the stomata is replaced. It is being replaced by the water in the xylem vessels of the leaves. Leaf. Okay, sir. Now I am able to understand what is happening. I think the system is working like the way in which I drink juice. How do you drink juice, Tangam? Sir, when I am drinking juice, I take a small straw, I drop it in a tumbler of juice and I simply suck. When I suck the straw, the air in the straw is getting sucked into my mouth. It creates a vacuum. Okay, then what is happening? The juice in the tumbler is flowing upwards to fill that vacuum. Okay, now I am able to suck the juice from the tumbler. In a similar way, there is a plant. Okay, so this plant is losing water in the form of water vapor in the aerial parts of the plant, which is nothing but through stomata present in the leaf. Okay, so when water is getting lost, this water is being replaced by the column of water. That is being pushed up by the root pressure. Transpiration is creating a suction force which is pulling the column of water that was originally created by the root pressure. that was originally created by the root pressure. Are you able to understand how water is being transported to each and every part of the plant? Absolutely, sir. Okay. What are the major functions of transpiration? It is creating a suction force which pulls water from the xylem cells of the root. From the xylem cells of the root. Sir, 1 second. Yes, Kana. Before we look at the functions of transpiration, first let us finish off the difference between xylem and phloem, sir. Let's not get diverted. Okay, absolutely. Let's get back to this particular topic. Now we know the mechanism of how water is transported through the xylem. Let us look at the mechanism of how food, which food? Prepared food, the soluble products of photosynthesis are transported through the phloem. Okay, sir. Transport of food materials in phloem is happening in sieve tubes with the help of the adjacent companion cells. They are happening at sieve tubes with the help of adjacent companion cells. This is called as translocation. Sir, why are you giving me another definition for translocation? Both these definitions are viable. In fact, you can write both the definitions as points one after the other to get better marks. Because translocation has to have two particular components of phloem. What components are? Sieve tubes. A sieve tube is simply a long tube with a lot of holes that is going to transport food. And the sieve tubes need adjacent companion cells for them to be alive. Why, sir? Sieve tubes are very, very special. They have only one function. What is the one and only function of sieve tubes? Sieve tubes are simply going to transport food material from one part of the plant to another part of the plant. That is fine. What is the function of companion cells? The function of companion cells is they help to keep the sieve tube alive. They are a good companion to sieve tubes. Hence the name companion cells. Hence the name companion cells. Anyway, let us actually get into how food is being transported. What food? Prepared food is being transported by phloem. For that, I will need to illustrate something, so I am going to rub this off. I want to draw a very small diagram to illustrate how prepared food is transported by phloem. Okay, energy from ATP is used to increase the osmotic pressure of the tissue, causing water to move into it. Sir, kindly explain this in a point by point manner. Kanna, where will you prefer to move? You will always prefer to move from a point of low pressure to a point of high pressure. Am I right or wrong? If somebody is putting a lot of pressure on you, if somebody is giving you an impossible task, you would like to move from that point of high pressure to a point of lower pressure. You would like to take some rest. Am I right or wrong? This is absolutely right, not just for human beings but also for nature. Things always move from a point of higher pressure to lower pressure. Things always move from a point of higher pressure to lower pressure. Sir, how are you going to create a point of higher pressure over here? That is what phloem is doing. Energy is taken from ATP cells. What is ATP? We studied about this in respiration lecture. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. So from ATP, energy can be broken. ATP can be broken to get energy. Energy from ATP is used to increase the osmotic pressure of the tissue. So what is happening? Here, a lot of water is being absorbed. How is a lot of water being absorbed? A lot of water is being absorbed by spending energy from ATP molecules, causing water to move into it. So a lot of water is being absorbed in some parts of the cell by spending energy from ATP molecules. Now study this sentence. Energy from ATP molecules is used to increase the osmotic pressure of the tissue, causing water to move in. So now water is here. What next, sir? The pressure moves the material in the phloem to low pressure tissues. Now where will food material move? It will move from high pressure to low pressure because water moved into this due to sudden increase in osmotic pressure. Because we are using energy from ATP molecules, these particular cells are at high pressure. Now food will move from high pressure to low pressure. Now food will move from high pressure to low pressure. Are you able to understand how food is transported from high pressure to low pressure? Are you able to understand how food is moving from high pressure to low pressure? Yeah, the pressure moves the material in the phloem to the low pressure tissues. Hence, materials are moved according to the plant's needs. So, if the plant wants to move from this cell to this cell, now what will happen, sir? If the plant wants to move from this cell to this cell, it's a very simple idea. What will happen? This particular cell will be created as a high pressure point. This particular cell will be created as a high pressure point. This will be created as a low pressure point. A lot of water will move into this. Now what will happen? The prepared food material will always move from high pressure to low pressure in this particular direction. Are you able to understand how ATP, energy from the ATP is used in translocation? What is being translocated? Prepared food material is being translocated. Prepared food material is moving across the plant according to its own needs. Give us an example, sir. In spring, sugar stored in the root or stem would be transported to the bud. Why, sir? Because the bud needs to flower during the spring, so that it needs energy to grow, so that it would have the energy that it needs to grow. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. What are the components present in xylem? Xylem has 4 components. Phloem has 4 components. The common part is parenchyma. Parenchyma is present everywhere in the plant. PP. Plant has parenchyma. Why? It is literally the packaging tissue. Plant has parenchyma. It is literally the packaging tissue. P. Plant. Parenchyma. P. Packaging tissue. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Enough of recalling the 9th standard biology. Get back to this particular chapter. Absolutely, Tava. So, here there is xylem parenchyma. Here there is phloem parenchyma. What next, sir? Xylem contains vessels, tracheids and fibers. The speciality here is xylem is the only living tissue. Vessels, tracheids and fibers are dead. Vessels, tracheids and fibers are dead. What about phloem? In phloem, other than parenchyma, we have tracheids, companion cells and sieve cells. I already told you about companion cells and sieve cells. What about tracheids, sir? Tracheids are the only dead cells in phloem. The only living cell in xylem is parenchyma. The only dead cell in, sorry, let me repeat that. The only living cell in xylem is parenchyma. The only dead cell in phloem is tracheids. The only dead cell in phloem is tracheids. Yeah, that is absolutely right. Okay, Tangam. Now let us go for transpiration. Sir, you have already taught me transpiration, but transpiration is a very, very important question that is often repeated in the CBSE board. So let us go through transpiration once more. Just to give me 2 minutes, I will teach you what is transpiration and give you some 6 points on how transpiration is advantageous to the plant. The loss of water in the form of water vapor through the leaves, through the aerial part of the plant, through its stomata is called as transpiration. Water lost through the stomata is replaced from the water in the xylem vessels of the leaf. What next, sir? Functions of transpiration. It is creating a suction force which is pulling water from the xylem cells upwards, which is pulling water from the xylem cell of the root. What next, sir? It helps in absorption movement of minerals which are dissolved in water from the roots to the leaves. Okay, sir. What next? Transpiration also helps in temperature regulation, making the surrounding cool. If you are going to stand under a neem tree during the hot sun, you will always feel cool and comfortable. Why? Because a lot of transpiration is happening. The plant creates an environment where the surrounding is always cool. What next, sir? It maintains water ion balance or osmoregulation. It facilitates the exchange of gases through the stomata. And finally, transpiration helps in removing excess water. Okay, sir. Now, kindly tell me, how is this particular gaseous exchange happening during the night and during the day? During the night, the stomata is closed. The effect of root pressure is more important. Why? During the day, during the night, photosynthesis is not happening. Because photosynthesis is not happening, the stomata is closed. Because the stomata is closed, what is not happening? Transpiration is not happening. Because transpiration is not happening, there is no suction force. And because there is no suction force, the effect of root pressure is more important during the night. Sir, what about during the day? The stomata is open. Transpiration is becoming a major force, a major driving force in the water movement. And that's basically the end of this particular lecture. Okay, Tangam? Yeah, cheers and thank you for listening to me. If you like our lectures, obviously subscribe to our channel, click the bell icon. We are going to have so much fun learning physics, chemistry, biology, economics, history, like each and every subject including maths this academic year. And we are going to do everything with style and finish. We are going to have so much fun. We are going to do separate videos for MCQs, multiple choice questions, so that you guys are well prepared to attend the board exams. Yeah, cheers and thank you. Obviously, if you like our channel, recommend our channel to our friends, promote us in social media. See you guys in the next lecture.